Welcome everyone. My name is Derek De La Paz. We're here at Mill City Roasters in Northeast Minneapolis, and it's been a bit since we've done a roast along. This is pretty exciting for me because this is a profile that it's been kind of, the thoughts around it have been tumbling around in my brain. It's kind of come to fruition from multiple reasons have kind of driven me to this profile. It's something a little different. It's a very specific profile for a very specific coffee. We have a new Kenyan that we brought in about a month ago, Kenya Kiambu. I'm gonna roast it on the 1.5 kilogram roaster right behind me. I'm going to give you some of the really basic settings for the machine. We haven't used this machine very much. I've only roasted 2 roasts on this machine so far. One of them was seasoning roast, no 3. One of them was seasoning roast and 2 of them were production roast from Sunday class. So I don't have a ton of experience on this 1.5 kg. This is the second one we've had in the lab. But I'm just going to let you all know some of the parameters. I'm going to use 20 hertz for my low air. I'm going to use 25 hertz for my medium air, and I'm going to use 30 hertz for my high air. And I'm going to use low, medium, high air like a traditional drum roaster would. I'm going to use 40 hertz on the drum speed setting, and that roughly is equivalent to 60 RPMs of the drum. I have the high temp limit set to 450, and I'm using 2 kPa gas with my medium 25 air, and I've been cycling up for about 20 minutes now. We're roughly going to charge around 400 degrees, but I have the high temp limit set at 450, so I'm cycling quite a bit higher than it. When I get ready to do this charge, or do this roast, I'll turn the burner off and we'll let it come down to temp. I'll lower my air to my starting airflow and we'll let it come down to temp. And I'm probably going to do that pretty soon because this machine tends to hold a fair bit of heat, and so I want to bring it down while we're talking. Okay, so that's the basics of the machine setup. So basically, this profile is a little bit more complex than most of the profiles I do. Reason being is just a really quick physical analysis of the size of the green beans we're going to use. So basically, I had Alex help me, my fancy measuring devices. And so we took a classic Ethio washed. So I'm building this profile off of my classic Ethio wash profile. And just so you all know, I do longer profiles than most roasters. I like more time in my Ethio wash profile. So my Ethio wash profile that I'm thinking about, I do a 6-minute dry phase on that cup. So I'm using that profile as my base. But the size of the beans are massively different. And I've yet to really roast a Kenyan that I really love. So I thought, hey, let's just look at the bean size really quick. So I had Alex measure the beans width and length in millimeters. So roughly, the Ethio bean on average was 6.2 millimeters wide or 7.8 millimeters long. This is going to be dorky measurement stuff, but just bear with it. Okay, so I had to measure the Kenyan. 7.1 millimeters wide and 11.4 millimeters long. So roughly, the Kenyan is about 15% more width. Then, roughly it's 46% more length. So quite a bit there. But then I did square millimeters, and it turns out that the Kenyan bean is 68% more millimeters square. So more mass, basically. So that's a pretty big nugget right there. 68% more bean to the Kenya. The reason why I'm comparing these two is they're both East Africans and they're both dense. So dense beans. We don't really talk a lot of times about density in the context of bean size. So I have a little bean that's dense and I roast it for a 6-minute dry phase. So now I'm thinking about a big bean, roasting it in the same style. So that's where the thoughts and my science brain is driving this profile in times and phases. So I just wanted to give you guys that snapshot, or give you all that snapshot of measurements, because that's part of the way I'm formulating the plan of this roast. Okay, now I'm going to turn the burner off, and I'm going to lower my air. Actually, I'm going to leave the air where it's at for a bit, just so it can come down with the medium air for a few seconds. Okay, so basically, that's some of the measurements that are helping me guide to this profile. So now I'm going to share with you all the phases for this profile. I know this is going to sound a little crazy, but if you adhere to these phases with your Kenyan, similar to our Kenyan, if it's a similar green, you'll get a nice cup. So the phase data is important. I've only done this roast 1 time on this machine, so I'm going to try to replicate it and get it a little closer to my goals this time. But if the roast goes off the rails, that's all good, because you all will have the phase events, phase data, which is what really matters. So we're going for an 8-minute and 15-second dry end. So 8 minutes and 15 seconds. So that's a long, low and slow dry phase. Then I'm looking for a pretty standard mid phase, plus 415 or 1230 to first crack. Then I'm only looking for 210 in development. or plus 210 in development, or roughly 1430 total time to roughly around 415 temp off the one thermocouple that I'm going to use for this roast. I don't really remember 100% whether I used the BT or the PID, but I'm 99% sure I used the PID. So that's what we're going to focus on the most, because that's definitely what I'm going to charge off of. Okay, we're coming down to charge temp, so this is working out really well. I'm going to lower the air to our starting air, which is 20. I'm going to use roast path, so I think I have roast path good to go. Okay, so roughly we're going to do a 400 degree charge with 20 air and 0 fuel, and we are at 415 right now. Then I'm going to do one of the longest soaks I've ever done, a 2-minute soak, so no burner for 2 minutes. Then when we do burner at 2 minutes, I'm going to come in with 0.7 kPa gas, or 7/10 of a kPa. So that's what gas I'm going to use at 2 minutes. And that is going to be the beginning of this pro. And that's going to be the meat of the profile. That initial fuel setting, that initial charge temp, that's going to basically set the momentum up to hopefully hit our green to yellow at 8:15. We will at 7:45 bring our airflow up to our medium in preparation for green to yellow transition, helping to round that all out. But that's the only input I have after the 1 minute fuel on. Okay, we're at 405, so I'm going to charge up the hopper. And we're using a 1.5 kg charge, so full charge. At 400 degrees, I'm going to start the timer on, or start the roast on the roast path, and I might even hit my, oh no, I forget, we're on the Digi machine, so we'll get the ancillary timer will start on its own. All right, so 400, and we go. Okay, so I'm a little nervous, but we'll cross our fingers and hope for the best. So basically the next marker is 2 minutes, 0.7 kPa, that's it. Then we're just going to let that ride. We're really trying to drive this really long, or I shouldn't say really long, but in the industry you hear a lot of 4.5 minute dry phases. So this is pretty long. If we're thinking of 4 minute dry phases, we're doing an 8 minute dry phase, 8 minutes plus. Pretty long in that context. And this is probably the easiest way to extend our dry phase. You know, if I was to quiz you all and say, hey, what would be the best way to extend our dry phase? There's all kinds of ways we could do it. Low charge temp, bing. Long soak, bing. Low fuel, bing. So we're kind of using a combination. We're using a higher charge temp. This is a Kenya, so I kind of want to make sure I start out with a little momentum. But then I'm doing a really long soak, in my opinion, and I'm using a low fuel input right away. So we're going to do basically kind of the second two that I like. And just so you know, we're not really bringing the fuel up until about a minute before crack. We're bringing up the fuel a little bit because in the 210 of development, we need to move a little quicker than the long, basically, rate that we're going to run this profile mostly at. We're going to run this profile at a pretty low and slow rate. So going into development, to get the proper amount of degrees of movement, we would need to spend so much time that it would ruin the cup. So we bring up the fuel a minute before crack so that we can get the momentum building a little bit faster as we go into crack. That way when we hit crack, we get to the temperature in the time that our goal was for. This is meant to be a light roast. So it's going to cup as a light roast. So I know some of you are like, what? No way, not with an 8 minute dry phase. Yeah, it is. It's a very balanced though. It's going to have a lot of sweetness, obviously, because of this longer dry phase. The flavors are going to be very, I don't know how you'd say it, very blended. You know, you're not going to have as spiky of flavors in this Kenyan. It's going to be a much more homogenized flavor. You know, with this longer dry phase, we're really going to build a lot of sweetness and body. You know, we're really going to bring out the quality of Kenyans that I tend to like, the maple candy note. We're really going to bring that out with this longer dry phase. That's what we're really trying to do. Spend a long time, because this bean is very big and dense. So we're just spending a lot more time in dry, just slowly getting energy deep into that dense, big seed. Then the rest of the profile is kind of a normal pro, because we want to capture a bunch of that lovely East African nuance, so the cup isn't just this flat, boring cup. You know, we're not trying to do that. This is a pretty expensive green in the average lineup of green coffees. So we want to capture that nuance, and we really want people to try this coffee and know that it's something unique based on origin. Like, oh, this is really nice, bright acidity. Maybe there's a little bit of tomato, but then there's a sweet maple candy note, but also a lot of citrus. Man, is this a really nice Kenyan? It's like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. So that's what we're kind of going for. Okay, So now we're almost 4 minutes in and we're at 18 ROR. That's probably, to be really honest, will be our, oh, we hit 20. Start to see it come down as we approach green to yellow transition, to be honest. And then it's probably gonna, I don't know, probably run 15, 16 average or something through mid, maybe up to 17, we'll see. All right, so now I'm checking on my notes. So it's still a bit to go. So 745, I increased my air to 25. Now I just wanna make sure everything's good. 40 drum speed, Hertz, 20 air, 700 gas. Yep, we're all good. So just making sure everything's moving. Oh, so we are picking up a little more speed. We're picking up, we got the 24 ROR. So, all right, that's a little bit surprising. I do have a note that roughly I saw green to yellow at 318, and I'm pretty sure that's on the PID. So then that's gonna be about 50 degrees from right now. 50 degrees from right now, we're moving in around 50 ROR, or no, sorry, 23 ROR, so 46 in 2 minutes. So that'll be 751, 651, but I think it's gonna slow down. So that's telling me we get there a little early. I'm not ready to back off on fuel though right now. I'm not ready to back off on fuel because this is such a low fuel setting. I don't have a lot of wiggle room when it comes to slowing this profile down. Thinking it through, trying to like make this profile the best it can be for next time, I would probably lower my charge temp. You know what I mean? Because this fuel setting is about as low as I would feel comfortable running a fuel setting through dry phase without just losing all my momentum as I go into mid. You know, if I lower my charge temp, then I'll have a little less momentum going into the dry phase. That way it would extend the dry phase and I could use the same fuel setting if this ends up being too short of a dry phase. We're coming up at 6 minutes. So then we're about 2 minutes, right? 2 minutes to our goal. So we'll do another quick, the coffee is turning color, but not much. It's paling more than changing color. So I think we still have a bit to go. And like I said, 318 is my number, and we're about 20 degrees from that. So we'll see. We might get there a little early. I'm thinking we're gonna get there a little early. And I don't want to lower my fuel, so only thing I might do is I might do my mid airflow increase a little early. That could just extend out that time, sap some of the juice that's in the roaster, and extend out the time a little bit longer. I'm gonna wait though. We're getting close, so I'm gonna do that right now. 6:30, I'm going to 25. I'm gonna write that down. That was an adjustment. We're not doing 745. All right, and now we're just gonna let it ride. We're coming up on our temperature roughly that we saw green to yellow last time. No, the color's not there. There's definitely some beans that are a little beyond yellow, but there's still a bunch that have some green in it. Now I'm gonna pull the trier out though and really get an eye on it. Okay, we're close. Yeah, we're not gonna make it to 8. No way. And I got that buttery smell. It's creamy, it's buttery. I think that's about it. So we're gonna go right there, 7:17. So a minute early. That's a little disappointing, but that's life. Okay, so 7:17, but at this point now, according to my previous profile, we ran that 415 mid phase pretty solid with this fuel setting, with just bringing it up a minute early. So because everything came a minute early, I'm gonna move my 1130 gas increase to up to 1030 now. And that'll keep me right on track. Because that's really the secret. Once you have a profile, that's the secret of maintaining your profile, is you maintain the mid phase time and the development time to the temperature, and that'll keep your profile accurate. Like I said, I've only done this profile one time, so I should have known that my warm-up would have gone a little longer, and that is what it is. The variance that we're experiencing from my plan to last roast, it's purely based on warm-up. And we don't really talk a ton about warm-up protocol or between batch protocol, but that's a huge factor in consistency of roast. Our next marker, 1030, I'm gonna increase my fuel. You know, I'm gonna increase my fuel, but we did get there a little early, so we're just gonna wait and see. The whole profile will probably go a little bit fast. That's usually what you see. When you see a profile go fast to green to yellow, it's probably gonna get fast to crack, and it's probably gonna be fast to final temp. Usually profiles run very consistently. If it's fast to one marker, it's gonna continue to be fast over the overall pro. We still have a bit to go. I think we're gonna do pretty good. We might actually go long in the mid now, which I'm not completely adverse to going long in the mid, because the mid was only 415. You know, it's a pretty standardized, for my opinion, like kind of 4-minute mid phase for a little bit longer development, or dry phase, I should say, for a little bit bigger bean. So we could easily expand out our mid to up to 5. I'm cool with. I'm not worried that a little bit longer mid phase with this bean will ruin the cup. I'm not worried at all. I could actually, in my brain, I think it might actually improve the cup. We'll wait to hear outliers to do our high airflow adjustment to 30, which roughly could be around 11. And then first crack, I was seeing around 388 on the last roast, which could happen at 11:30 now that we moved everything up a minute. Okay, we're coming up on the 10:30, so I am going to go to 1.2 kPa. So I'm going to increase it by 0.5, half a kPa. And that's so we can just build a little bit more momentum, or honestly not lose momentum. Let's kind of track that. 14 ROR at that increase. And really, all that increase is going to do is maintain that 14 ROR going into crack, is what my thoughts are. So now we're waiting for 11 coming up right now. Now we're going to do our high airflow adjustment. But I'm going to wait a little bit to hear an outlier. Yep, there they are. So I'm going to go to 30. I like increasing my high airflow adjustment at outliers because that's roughly around 30 seconds before I hear the rolling first, or where I call first. So now we're right on track so far for this mid to stick to our 415, or for a little bit short. Oop, I'm feeling it cracking off. We're coming up on the temp that I would normally call it. Okay, let's call it right there. Looks like 11:32 is our crack. 16 ROR. Oh, we're at 15 ROR, so we're a little bit slower, which is not bad, but I like it. Okay. So I increased my fuel. So now really this profile is really just about letting it run to the end. Now I'm looking for 1 minute in, 12:32. And then we'll roughly drop at 210 plus 210, which would now be 13:42 is our goal. 12:32. I should be at 401. And 401, check. Wow, we're right on track. So I'm liking it. Okay, now we're coming up on our 2-minute mark, which I don't have a note for that, but I'm going to say we should probably be around 410, 412. Oop, we're 13:32. We're at 412. Check. All right, so 415, 13:42. That's our number. I'm turning the cooling arms on, turning the fuel off just so it doesn't go too far. 13:42, we're going to be right there. And 13:45 to 415. So I went 3 seconds long just because I was bobbling with just pushing the right things and not making a huge mistake in front of you all. Now I want to bring down the light, and I'm just going to do a really quick analysis of the roast and how it looks. So this looks very much like a light roast. I don't know what the percentage. Oh, actually, look at that quick. 16%, right. So with this long dry phase, even though we did a 210 development phase for a light roast, which is what some people might even call a little bit longer development phase, we still are only at 16% of the overall profile in development. So it's still, it almost makes it look like it would be an underdeveloped cup, but no, we did 210. And if you look at the beans, they're very, very light looking, but they're not super stony feeling. In my hand, they feel like a little bit, they feel like between light and medium when it comes to feel, because we spent all that time in the roast. We burned off a lot of moisture, and we basically did proper cookery and got a bunch of energy into the inside. So this isn't going to be a raw, acidic, sour, vegetal, uber tomato sauce, basil-y, herby Kenyan, because we spent all that time getting temperature in, getting energy into the inside. But we did do a 210 development phase to trap all that lovely nuance. So it is going to be bright and tart, just not sour. I'm really happy with this. It's quite successful. I cupped this the other day, and like I said, it was a lot of maple candy, but then a lot of citrus, like grapefruit, orange, Meyer lemon, some of the really nice floral citrus notes, and a ton of complexity, but then heavy body, heavy sweetness, and then it just kept getting more complex as it cooled. Well, earlier today, Steve came in and he wanted to pull some shots. So I handed him the bag from Sunday and he started pulling shots. It was excellent for shots. As an SO espresso, delicious. It was basically like butter, like lime butter caramel. Oh, just like really nice tart acidity, but then nice caramel sweetness. I wanted to share this profile with you all. I think it went pretty well. The only thing I think I would do to fix it, just to get that extra minute in dry, would be to lower my charge temp. Lower my charge temp, and then I think I can nail it. So, but you all know the important information, which is the phase data. We're looking for an 8:15 dry phase. We're looking for a 12:30 first crack or 4:15 in mid, and then we're looking for plus 210 to 14:30 total time to roughly a 4:15 temperature on the PID on this machine. But whatever your light roast temperature is, that's the temperature we're going for. We'll put the profile up, and really this is about bean size and density. Still a different profile for you guys. All right, well, this is me checking out. Cheers.